but there was a real disintegration with mind, body, spirit. I had mind and spirit, but I never had the body. And I still doesn't have to have a specific look. Obviously I have larger guns now, but I still got a little belly with lots of stretch marks on it. And for me, I think every single stretch mark is a rung on the ladder to my own self-love.
Hello and welcome to the Mind Detox podcast. Here we're going to discover a new way to think, feel and heal while exploring our spiritual side. I'm your host, Sandy Newbigging, also known as the Mind Detox Monk, because, well, I'm a monk and a meditation teacher, and for the past 15 years or so, I've been working with people from around the world using a method that I accidentally created called Mind Detox. Mind Detox is all about curing the unconscious causes of physical, emotional, or life issues. So stick around if something is going on in your body, emotions, or life, and you don't know why, because we'll be exploring the possible mind-based causes during this or an upcoming episode. As a monk who's written 12 books and meditated for thousands of hours, the topics of inner peace and living in the present moment will most likely be a thread that runs through many of our episodes. So stick around again if you want to stress less and be still more. This podcast includes highlights from my online club and academy meetings, expert interviews, guided meditations, and more. All so that you can cure the cause and master peace. For today's episode, I share a Chit Chat with Kyle Gray, world-renowned angel expert and international best-selling author. We talk about why you probably already love yourself way more than you may think and have been giving yourself credit for. Stay tuned for his inspiring story about facing his fears to find more love, and why love isn't always fluffy, but instead fierce. Hello, Kyle.
This is so funny. It's so funny every time someone says hit record, inside my head I actually go, do not swear.
Exactly. Live on Channel 4, do not swear. Remember that?
Yeah, that's what happened.
That's that people from the UK will recognise that. Kyle, you are an angel expert. You are a light warrior. You're a yoga teacher, and many other things. You've written a number of international best-selling books. You tour the world. You speak to hundreds every time you show up, and I find you a really inspiring guy. And in your recent book, Light Warrior. The subtitle of that was all about fierce love. Yeah. And so I really wanted to talk to you in this Love Life Summit about what is fierce love. So can we just start there?
Yeah. I think fierce love for me, by the way, hi everyone. Fierce love for me is that kind of primal protective energy that we all have inside of us. It's like that love where, for example, your mum can give you into trouble, but if someone else was to give you into trouble, she'll like come all guns a-blazing and protect you. And in a spiritual sense, fierce love is that love that we actually do have for ourselves, but yet don't always recognize it's there. That we don't realize we really do love ourselves on some level. And when we are put in a situation where it could be challenging, or someone's being really mean to us, or someone's being really nasty towards us, there's this kind of fierceness that can rise up inside that can make us really fight for what we believe in, or stand up against someone when they're being challenging or detrimental to our well-being. That's fierce love. And I think on a spiritual sense, we all have this fierceness inside of us that either wants to protect others, or wants to help others, or wants to help the earth. So that's what fierce love is. It's that primal, fierce energy inside of us that wants everything to remain good, but sometimes has to be somewhat wrathful in order for that to happen.
I love that. I love that, especially because what you're saying is quite contradictory to what many others say, which is, you've got a self-love problem. You don't love yourself. But what you're saying is actually at the base rate, at the base level, everybody does.
I think I know that we've all came from love, and I know that is our existence. But love doesn't have to express itself as all pink hair, unicorns, flowing scarves and dresses. It can be robust. It can be a little bit more industrious. It can be fiery, and so I think we all do have a part of ourselves that wants to protect ourselves and wants to keep ourselves well. And so therefore, I think that if we are put into a space where we are facing danger, there's a part of us that's scared to be hurt. And I think that fear of being hurt is actually a part of us actually loving ourselves, wanting to love ourselves enough not to experience that pain or fear.
I think that's amazing. I think it's something that we can all relate to. And I think that, if you've been watching this thinking that you don't love yourself, you've suddenly got evidence that actually maybe you love yourself more than you think you do.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's really important, to recognize that primal energy inside of us, it runs through us all the time. And, we've all got a wee kind of hunter-gatherer inside of us that wants to eat enough food, get enough sleep, protect ourselves, create shelter. These are all steps towards self-respect, self-love, self-care, whatever you want to call it. And I think that fierce love is that itself, that's the fierceness of us. We just do it. It happens. Hitting my tassel.
So in a way, what you're saying to people is really exciting, because in essence, it's not about them trying to force himself to love himself more or do 1,000,001 affirmations, or that might be useful in some circumstances. But it's actually about start with recognizing what you do already that is actually evidence of this innate level of self-love within you.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
It's really cool.
It's a great reframe, because it basically puts us, millions of us, on a level field in a way of actually, no, actually, I do love myself, because I do clean myself every day, and I do feed myself every day, and I do give myself some sleep, and I do want to have a good life. And that part of me that wants all of that is the part that's trying to love me from the inside out.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's it. We already are love. We are love expressing itself. And so sometimes it can be a little bit more fiercer than fluffy.
Absolutely.
And I'm not going to lie, I'll be really honest. Like, I reached a point in my own spiritual journey where I was starting to get really pissed off with how much fluff was surrounding spirituality, and the needing to be zen, and the needing to be like, excuse this word, cool, calm, and collected. That feel. And me, very well. And I'm not a calm person. I've always been fiercer, more fiery, more outspoken. And, there was a part of me for a long time that was trying to spiritual that away. How can I be more calm? How can I, be more together, more held? And I recognized that my nature is quite fierce. And so why not love then fiercely? And I think that's what it was.
Exactly. And I've also been on a similar journey, like not liking being pigeonholed as the calm guy, because ultimately I'm actually much more joy guy.
Right.
But calm, if anyone actually gets into it, they discover that calm is not just about, being like beige. It's actually about, it's actually about living fully. It's actually about living consciously. It's about being fully alive, fully engaging the moment, but from conscious awareness. And so, yeah, I completely get that kind of frustration of people having an idea of what calm looks like, people having an idea of what love looks like, people having an idea of what enlightenment looks like. Discuss.
I think that there's a part of us that I think it's so easy to make a judgment, right, from the outside in, like, for example, you know, I owned a yoga studio called the Zen then, and then when people met me in the pub, they're like, I would never expected to meet you in here. I'm like, well, I am a human being, you know, like I am just living like everyone else. And I think as spiritual teachers, we owe it to our followers, to the people that we are sharing our message with, to really give them an honest, authentic message of, yes, I still drink beers on the weekend, and you might be surprised, but now and then I actually have a full fillet steak or 3. You know, like there's parts of us that we try to, people pigeonhole us, and then we try to kind of meet that. And I knew that could never be my life. That could never be, you know, what I wanted. And even though I was vegan for nearly 16 years, I craved a steak for 7. And when I started writing Light Warrior, I was like, okay, maybe I could consciously have a steak. Maybe I could like get like the best grass-fed organic steak ever from a farmer. I know exactly where it came from, because I need this, just like my body craves love. You know, like there's a craving inside of us all for different things. But I think often when we have a craving, we also have to let something else move through us. And so for someone who wants to experience love, but yet they have so much furious energy inside of them, I think the furiousness needs to move through them in order for the love to come back in, you know. And that's really the message of my teaching now, is that if you're feeling something, there's an authentic reason why it's there. Don't try and out-spirit, you know, let it be. And so I was really excited about writing a book about being a warrior, because I really wanted to embody the whole journey of being a warrior. So I've done the whole hunter-gatherer thing. I had the like arrows held against my neck and rushed into them. You know, I did all the whole embrace it fully, learned how to do CrossFit, mixed martial arts, all different things. I wanted to really feel the energy of a warrior and the fierceness of love.
It's a really cool that you've taken this journey. And what I love about you is that you're, you know, I can see that you're applying everything that you're sharing, you know, day by day, moment by moment. And, you know, I were saying before we came on this call today, like it's, this is our life. This is, you know, it's not just for a workshop or for while you're reading a book or while you're writing a book. It's this, you know, fierce love, loving yourself and living a life that you love is a 24/7 adventure.
Definitely.
And I just want to go back briefly to this whole idea of people having to try and live up to an idea of their best version of themselves, or, you know, what is spiritual, what is lovable, what is sexy, what is whatever, you know what I mean? I think there's something in there in the context of love that I think it deserves some light of day and some airtime. It's learning to love yourself, warts and all. But how would someone go about that if they are, you know, wanting to apply this fierce love and they do hate their weight or their cellulite or something in their life? You know, like what would you say to them if you're inviting them to actually embody and access more of a fierce love?
I always say that there's a part of us that doesn't want to feel the bad way, but for some reason we feel the bad way anyway. So like, for example, as you know, one of my biggest, greatest journeys in my life has been with the body, you know, changing shape, overcoming the fact that I was at one point morbidly obese, you know, on a piece of paper. I think that in order to overcome that, you have to face it. But yet so many of us actually run away from it. So my biggest challenge was actually looking at my body in the mirror and not really being able to look at it. And so what I done was I decided at that time to take up hot yoga, because you can't wear anything other than the smallest pair of shorts you own. And the whole class is done looking in the mirror, you know, the whole 90 minutes. And you see your body change shape, because there's moments where you look so ungraceful and you fall all over the place. There's sweat dripping off your body. But for some reason, at first, even though I felt so vulnerable and exposed, there was still a part of me that that knew I needed to do this because I knew it was going to lead me back to where I needed to be. And so when people are in a state where they don't like something about themselves, I actually tell them to find it and like look it directly in the eye and like let it become one with them again. Because as long as it's you and the problem, it's always going to be a problem. But if you realize you and your problem are actually one, then it can change, you know? And so it kind of reminds me of that story about the Buddha I always talk about, where he is in his cave meditating that one day and his guard is out front, and coming up the hill is this big demon called Mara. And Mara's coming towards the mouth of the cave where the Buddha's meditating, and the guard goes, oh no, what am I going to do? I need to make an excuse to say the Buddha's not here. And as soon as Mara gets in front of the guard goes, and he gets this fear. And then Mara says, I want to see the Buddha. And Buddha says, let him in. And then Mara comes in and he looks at Buddha in the eye, and Buddha says, I see you. And then Mara disappears. And the whole reason of this story is the cave is us. The Buddha inside is our inner teacher. The guard out front is our ego, and Mara is our fear. And the whole idea is our ego wants us to be scared of the prospect of fear, but it never wants us to look at fear in the eye. But if we actually look at our fears and any of the stuff that's coming up inside of us, we're just more ashamed or scared of the prospect of that being our truth and our reality. But when we actually look at it for what it is, it's generally not as big as we've allowed it to be. So whenever people have a really loud voice inside of them that's fear-based, it's egotistical, it wants them to be scared of the idea of experiencing fear, I tell them to stop making it a third party and make it a one party. Just go, okay, voice, I can hear you loud and clear, but this is not my truth today. Just taking a moment to acknowledge it as it comes up, kind of like, meditation. You're the person that always talks about just taking a moment to acknowledge what's coming up, what's rising up inside of you. That's our teacher.
Exactly. I talk about in Calm Cure, which is one of the reasons why we're having this little chat. Woo! I talk about in Calm Cure how freedom, which is what we're kind of talking about right now, is the willingness to experience anything and the ability to do so without suffering, right? And so this what you're saying is like, anything that you're unwilling to experience, that's like the ego, that's the fear, like in that story. And the minute you just turn to it and you're willing to experience it, it just evaporates. Like it's not a problem anymore. Like what was causing the suffering, the stress, the turmoil was our unwillingness to fully experience. And I think what you're doing so beautifully today is I can feel it. I can almost feel people watching this later now and being relieved by the words that you're sharing today. From the fact that we already are loving ourselves more than we think we are. We have this fierce love within us. Also moving over to this whole facing whatever it is and embracing it, and in doing so we're learning how to love unconditionally, which is amazing. Dude, I want to admit this might just be a personal question, and I know you've probably touched upon it, but I just want to see if there's any more I could squeeze out of you in this one. That moment when you are on paper morbidly obese, mm-hmm. and you can't look at yourself in the mirror, and now you've got these huge guns, this fit physique, this warrior physique. And you've done the transformation. In the time I've known you, so 2-3 years maybe, you've transformed your body. Maybe 4 years.
Well, I think how many books you wrote?
In the time I've known you, 3.
Okay, so that's 4 years, yeah.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. But I want to talk about that moment. Maybe was there a moment? Was there a moment when you were like morbidly obese? Feeling crap about yourself, looking yourself in the mirror, can't look at yourself, and how did you make that move to actually get to hot yoga? Because so many people wouldn't be able to get in that room.
I my internal guidance system had been telling me to go to yoga for a while. So I'd already been doing yoga I'd already completed yoga teacher training, but yet was still on paper, morbidly obese. And so I was already like in the practice of yoga, but it was like, that is what transformed my practice, running, doing 5 hot yoga classes a week. I would never do that now, but, because I don't have the time and I like the gym even more. But it was just one of the things that
remember the moment though. Was there a moment maybe before then, like when you were overweight and you hadn't started yoga? Like, how did you make that first step?
I tell you, I actually had already went there. I went to hot yoga, but the first time I went, I wore like leggings, a pair of shorts, a vest, and a t-shirt because I didn't want anyone to see my thing. And the woman said to me, "Gosh, you wore an awful lot of clothes." She's one of my friends now, Colette Ward. And I was like, yeah, I feel a bit embarrassed getting my body. And she went, "Everyone in this room is not here for you. They are here for themselves." And I was just like, whoa, because I'm too busy worrying about my story, but there's another 40 other people in that class that are too busy worrying about how ungraceful they look, how sweaty they are, how can they stand on one leg, And that's the truth. Like, we think everybody wants to know our story, but they've actually already got their own shit to deal with. Mm-hmm. And I think that the truth is we just need to stop being so egotistical and egomaniacs. It's, about ourselves and realize that everyone else is working on their stuff and we need to start working on ours. That's the truth. But here's the whole message of Light Warrior. What you do for yourself is what you do for the world. And so therefore I always ask people, do you want this story that you've got going on in your head to be the story of your children or your children's children or your children's children's children? Do you want this story to be the future generation's story? And that's the biggest question, because that's what I've realized, that we are essentially, as science and spirituality will agree, one. And what you are doing to yourself is what you are doing to the whole. So if you are not fiercely loving you and meeting yourself with what you need, you are also contributing to the suffering of the world. And that is not what you were born for. We were born to create harmony. Like, we know it. Like, we all want peace. Like, we all want to experience goodness in the world. And the more we avoid ourselves, the more we contribute to that suffering. And so it is a great call to action, and it's also one that can make us feel a little bit guilty. But that's not the purpose of me sharing that. It's not about feeling guilty. It's about recognizing, oh, shoot, I've got a starting ground now. I've got something to work with. So that's really what I think, And so in order to teach, you have to learn. And I think that we all have our own journey to do. And one of the things I'll say is, just because we all have our own problems, it doesn't mean we can't make a difference in the world. Like, as you work through your stuff, you will be demonstrating to others what they are also possible of doing.
It's beautiful.
And I had already written 2 books at this point, so I was already a published author, doing the thing. But there was a real disintegration with mind, body, spirit. I had mind and spirit, but I never had the body. And it still doesn't have to have a specific look. Obviously I have larger guns now, and I still got a little belly with lots of stretch marks on it. And for me, I think every single stretch mark is a rung on the ladder to my own self-love.
I think that's a beautiful way to end this interview, actually. Every stretch mark is a rung on the ladder to self-love. I think that that's you can't beat that, Kyle. I think you just topped out on when it comes to this. We could talk forever. I think the viewers would love you to be talking forever as well. It's beautiful to hear you get into flow and talk about what you're passionate about. And thank you so much for being willing to chat to me about loving life and fierce love, and help me get the message of my new book out as well, and things like that.
No worries. Thank you so much.
So until we next speak, I wish you infinite peace and limitless love. Bye for now.